Hello, good morning and good evening, everyone. Om Shanti, welcome.
Good morning.
Om Shanti. Good morning.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Shanti, good morning.
Shanti.
Om Shanti. Good morning.
On this angelic day, in this angelic month, we are so fortunate that we have a real angel all the way from India, from Mumbai, with us, our dear divine sister, Rakhi Ben. So on behalf of all of us, let us welcome Rakhi Ben. Om Shanti, welcome Rakhi Ben.
Om Shanti. Welcome, Rakhi Ben. Om Shanti.
Welcome, Rakhi Man.
Om Shanti. Welcome, Rakhi Ben.
Om
Shanti,
Shanti. Welcome, Rakhi
welcome
Ben.
Rakhi Ben.
Om
Thank you, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Welcome, Rakhi Ben.
I've come to know Rakhi Ben last year, around the mid of last year, I believe, and through some service initiative. And one thing that I've always just, the moment I've gotten in touch with Sister Rakhi, I've been inspired by her commitment and dedication, along with her simplicity and gentleness in her demeanor, behavior, with which she carries out Baba's services. And only later did I realize her journey, her own individual journey, from fear to faith. And as I've known Sister Rakhi more and more, I've realized that there is this absolute, gem of a story here, gem of experiences here that we can really learn so much from. From having this from the very beginning of the childhood, and until then she found the spiritual truth, and how her life has been a life of transformation. So we are really looking forward to listening from Sister Rakhi today. Thank you for joining all the way from India, spending your time. I know it's late for you there. And also all the angels who have joined us from India. Thank you for joining. And we would like to invite our little angel Vivan to formally introduce Sister Rakhi. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. I want to welcome you all. Om Shanti. I want to welcome you all to today's program, Moving from Fear to Faith. I feel honored to introduce you to our speaker, Sister Rakhi Lahoti. Sister Rakhi has been a fighter, a go-getter, an inspiration in itself, and a great visionary. Having done her MBA and now serving as a director with one of the HR consulting firms, she demonstrates being unstoppable and a zeal to live life. Being a keen learner herself, she has participated in various programs of Art of Living, Landmark Worldwide, Love Heals, and many more. She got attracted to the spiritual learnings of the Brahma Kumaris and is a keen learner and practices the learnings for self-growth and for being of contribution to others. Her core strength is maintaining selfless personal relations, and her commitment is to leave people with some kind of value every time they interact with her. There was a lot she could have given as a reason to not stand up for in life, but she did not do that. She is an evident example of the expanded life that she is living, and her slogan is, "If I can, then anybody and everybody can." Please welcome Sister Rakhi Lahoti.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivan, and welcome again, Sister.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for a warm welcome, Sarabhai and Vivan. It was an angel welcoming, and I'm touched with the way Vivan has spoken about. Thank you so much, Vivan, for welcoming me.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you.
At this moment, while we are going to be having our journey as created with Vivan a few minutes back, that Viman is taking us on the Viman of the journey. Viman is flight in English, from fear to faith. And I'm acknowledging at this moment, I have a butterfly in my stomach. And I'm dwelling on conversations of, will I be able to give justice to this session? Will I be able to contribute to each one of you here? Will I be able to connect with people from different nationalities and different culture, given this is my first experience to speak on a global platform? Having said that, I also have this conversation that I can't see myself clearly from a distance where I'm sitting on my computer screen. How will I connect with all of you back there on your camera, on your videos? I have this fear, and I am here for each one of us to experience this journey of fear to faith. Take a few moments and reflect back in your journey of life. Where have such conversations been dwelling for you? And just be with that experience. Just be with it. These conversations are going to be dwelling and going to be with us till our last breath. However, in the face of fear, how much are we ready to move ahead in our journey, taking fear along with us and bringing in our faith in our own selves and faith on that creator, the divine creator who has got us on this planet. So together, we shall introspect, revisit, reinvent for us this journey from fear to faith. We often get stopped in living the life of our choice and what we really deserve by our own self-demeaning conversations like, what if? Imagine if a mother thinks of, what if my child will fall if I start training him, learn how to walk? Will a child ever be able to walk? And then we entertain conversations like, what if I lose? What if I'm rejected? I'm ridiculed? What if I fail? How will I deal with my own failures? Some such conversations that clouds us. And unconsciously, we construct a wall of our own self-doubts, restricting ourselves from living the life of our choice and stagnating our own growth. And the other side is an opportunity for us to experience living with fear and moving ahead with our own conviction, with self-belief, belief in the support system that Divine provides us, and above all, believing in the divine power while we are taking actions to compete or move ahead of our fear. And that's the choice that one makes, whether to get captivated and trapped in our own fears, or move ahead in life with fears, bringing forward faith in self, faith in the structures around us that comes as a divine messengers, because it's the divine power that finally governs what's best for us. Having said that, my personal journey had been choosing the second path, taking each fear as an opportunity to move forward. So a little background to the challenge and the condition with which I was born, I'd taken birth on this planet. I have negligible eyesight. That's where I said I had this conversation today, whether I'll be able to connect with each one of you out there. And my first experience with fear had been, as a child, I would never know what fear and faith is all about. But the conviction with which my parents took a decision of admitting me to a normal school rather than getting me admitted to a visually challenged or a blind school was a boon for me. Because then I was living with life as normal for everyone. And while I was going to school is when I realized that I can't see the blackboard. For a few years, my mom used to get notes for me. It was a time that studies increased and it wasn't practically possible to get notes written from mom. And a support structure which got created by one of my class teachers in very early days was bringing forward a concept of a class buddy supporting me every week, turn by turn, to take notes. And that's how I managed my initial schooling. And this experience gave an access to understand that fears are going to be there. My parents would have had the same fear, but their one action of what they did left me with an access that when you share cooperation, oneness comes our way to support us. And I stand in gratitude of that first learning as to how to manage fears with existing support that the Almighty had already created for us. How much are we making ourselves available to this support structure is all about us. During the initial days, the second learning that I got to beat my fear was, as a child, had been an introvert child, very talkative though, used to speak a lot in close-knit circles, but always had this fear of expressing or speaking in front of people. I may be around, I guess, 12 or 13-year-old when I got picked up to give a public speak, which I said I would not be capable of, and had a friend who trained me to develop the skills and gave my first public speak in the school at the age of 12, I guess. And that got me off of my fear of facing people that I don't know. And this gave me the learning that to face fear, I need to be confident. So with cooperation and oneness came the virtue of having confidence in self. Did I fall on my first speech? Yes, I did. I fumbled. But then that the journey began. And the next experience probably is the most touching experience, is when I would say I stood for myself. And that was, I guess, post-graduation, around the age of 2022, while the family was wanting me to get married and we were looking out for alliances. And given the structure, the society that we live in, almost 25 years back, this was one of an important responsibilities that every parent would want the child to get married and settled. And I faced few rejections. And that was a point when I had asked first time a question to myself: what do I want in life? And I chose to create my own life by expressing my interest to my parents that I would want to move forward in my further studies. And I want to do my MBA. Until then, until that day, I'd never traveled alone in the city of Mumbai. I was always surrounded by friends and family. And expressing this decision or this thought was not very welcoming, because parents were concerned as to, with this kind of a challenge and the pressure of MBA studies and the future ahead will be very demanding. How would you manage? I wasn't knowing how will I manage. I was getting into an unknown water. And I was okay with it. I don't know why I was okay with, but I was okay with it. And with a continuous conversation, got my parents ready to allow me to go into my MBA. And it's been 22 years post completing my MBA that I'm here to share my journey from fear to faith with all of you. That was an absolute turning point for me, because until then, I was oblivious to my own potentials. That entire turnaround by just taking one choice and standing for self, okay to face whatever shows up, that created the whole world of difference. And this quest of learning was always there. And with this learning and the interest to move forward, to know more about self, the journey began with a lot of spiritual learnings that started almost a decade back. And in spiritual path, getting to know self and the truths which were higher than what otherwise I was looking at until then, allowed me and gave an access to somebody who was God-fearing. I, as a person until then, was very God-fearing. What if I don't perform a ritual of performing a puja in the way it is expected to perform? What will happen then? These were my conversations those days. And the day I got that my relationship with that supreme power is not of fear. He is here to support. Am I making myself relate to him with freedom? And from the time this relationship has altered with the divine, the whole perspective towards life has become very easy compared to what it used to be there. Does that mean that I don't have fear anymore? Does that mean that I'm free from all of this? No, I'm yet learning. And these learnings support to move forward. One thing which has been my learning in the spiritual path has been accepting self and being easy with my own self, rather than getting into any kind of guilt mode or blame mode. And okay to take risk and face consequences, which otherwise was not so easy. And this allowed me to move forward from my journey of serving somebody else as an employee to be a business owner or run a business from last 5 years with all of its roller coasters, facing losses, recovering losses, and standing by it, whatever it shows up. So fear had been there. And I'm sure each one of us will resonate to a few of these conversations somewhere in your life. But with fear, how have we brought in the power of faith and converted our fear as an axis to move forward in our journey of life, learn, open to elevate, open to take risk, and create our own life. This has been a short journey with few experiences that I have shared in. And this reminds me of a story from Mahabharata as to how we connect with fear. And the story is about Krishna and his brother Balrama. Once they were walking around in a dense forest, and it was getting dark in the night, they decided to stay back in the forest and rest, and then start the journey the next day morning. Given it was a dense forest and a lot of wildlife was to be there. They decided that one of them will sleep and other will guard while the other person is sleeping. So while Krishna was sleeping, Balram was guarding him. And here comes a monster with his crawling voice in front of Balram, and Balram is scared. The monster scares him more. Balram is scared more. And a time comes in that Balram is so afraid that he faints, calling for Krishna. Hearing to his name, Krishna wakes up, and since Balram was fainted and he was in a sleeping posture, Krishna takes it that he is sleeping and it's his turn to guard now. And he is moving to and fro. And he also sees the monster, but he is in his own joy and smiling. The monster is surprised that Krishna is not afraid of him, looks like. Krishna goes with his smiling face and asks the monster, "What do you want?" To this, monster is again surprised as to why is this man not afraid of him. Krishna keeps asking him. Every time Krishna asks, the size of the monster reduces to a point where it becomes a small little doll. Krishna picks up that doll and puts it in his pocket. Next day morning, when Balram wakes up, he wanted to share with Krishna what has happened the whole night, and he was fainted, and there was a monster, and he narrates the story. And Krishna shows that monster, picks him up from the pocket, and shows, "Was this the monster?" Balram says, "Yes, but how come he's become small?" Now, this is a story symbolical of how much significance do we give to our own fears, which in the story is a monster. The more Balram was afraid, the size of the monster grew. So from a mustard seed, it has gone to a mountain. And when Krishna is all settled with his own self and has not given any significance to who monster is, the size of that monster reduces. Exactly the same happens with our fear. When we give significance to it, it increases to a mountain. But when we are with it, we are with the fear and okay to see whatever fear brings in and take this as a challenge. Then these fears, which otherwise would have created a mountain for us, would become a mustard seed. That's the nature of fear. So take a moment for yourself and reflect on where in life have these conversations you have got yourself captivated with and dealt with these conversations and situations, bringing in faith. be with it. And now let's look at what fear actually is when we say it's all about our demeaning conversations. Apurva sister, would I invite you to share the slide on what fear is?
Yes.
So fear, how we can reflect it is fear is nothing but a false emotion that appears real. And that's what the story that we all heard right now shows up. At this stage, would anybody like to share any experiences of the fear that they have been caught up with? Can unmute themselves and share.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
I just wanted, it's about 30 years ago, there was an experience, and maybe not 30, 25 years ago, there was an experience. I just remembered it after listening to you. So I will just take 2 minutes to explain it, to tell you the story about fear. Sometimes we hear stories from other people that generates fear in us. And we get so influenced that instead of trying for it, we just move back because we are already influenced by those stories and the fear has already taken over us. Sometimes ignorance is a bliss in this way. So I'll tell you a story. I joined a college and there, there was a program I was told to participate in, and I was a first year student, and I did not know about what fears others were carrying. And out of excitement to join the college and being free in a different world, I wanted to take participation. It's like comparing a musical instrument program where you come on the stage and you basically talk about the upcoming singing, upcoming singers and song and stuff. So I was like an anchor, and I was told I said yes to it. I was committed to it, and they asked me to anchor the program, and I just said yes. And once I say yes, I cannot go back. That's my personality. So when I said yes and I started preparing for the program, I was told by so many seniors that you are just a junior. They will not let you come on the stage. They will not let you take over the program. They will make you come down and they will throw things on you. They will make you feel embarrassed. And I was still not taken away by the fear. I was like, okay, I'll still do it, but I'm committed. I've said yes. And now I have to do it. The fear did not get into me. But I was told multiple times later on, by the time I was a little afraid, by the time the program date was coming in and I stepped on the stage, and I was, as they had explained, I would be ridiculed and I would be embarrassed, and they would throw arrows on me and stuff like that. And then there was no fear in me. I don't know why it happened, because I was just ignorant and innocent, and whatever you may call it, not afraid of it, what could be the consequences. And other people were afraid of it. So some people, out of fear, they just stepped back and they just couldn't handle it anymore. And for me, the fear thing was ignorant. I did not know what would be the ultimate consequences of it. And finally, everybody appreciated me. Everybody liked me, and everybody was like, this girl is just a first year person and she is coming on the stage. And I was being embarrassed there, but I was only laughing it out. I was finding it very funny instead of being embarrassed. And this fear had not taken over me. And I would just say that because I was not afraid, I was able to take it over. Had I been influenced by other people, by got caught into the fear, I would have tremored, I would have stumbled, I would have cried and done so much more. So because the fear wasn't there, I was able to hold it very well, which I still carry as an example in me. And many other situations in life when I was actually taken away by the fear, and when I stepped into it, when you are at the scene of performance, then you can't afford to have fear. And then, when we step into it, we are full of fear. But by the time you are into it, there is no space for fear because we have to do an act. So that fear had to go or maybe subsided. So the fear was there, and we get afraid from so many people when they talk about things and we get influenced. But when we are not influenced by it, and when we go with our own stride, or when we are innocent and ignorant, these are the two words I would take. Because when we are into social media, there is so much of fear which is drilled into us. So this fear, if it is not there and we are just going by our own thoughts, we get more successful and the fear doesn't catch us. Thank you for listening. Sorry, I was being too long.
Thank you so much for sharing. And you rightly pointed out, sister, that when we are not caught by fear, if the fear doesn't touches us, and we are out there to perform, then whatever shows up as a consequences, we're ready to face it. And I acknowledge, and I would say that fear for me had been a blessing. Had there been no fear, the whole turnaround in life would not have shown up the way it has shown up. But instead of getting caught or captivated with this so-called fear, just be with the fear and move forward. Because when we move forward with fear is when we see the unknown world, the unseen potential of our own self. So today I'm standing in that gratitude because only of fear being there and steps being taken to move forward from fear had me come in here to speak to all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Apurva Ben, for sharing this. We can go to the next slide on faith. This is interesting, isn't it? Faith is nothing but full assurance in the heart. So while we defined fear, we spoke about fear being false emotions appearing real. And emotions comes from where? From heart. And here on faith, we speak about false assurance in the heart. Heart is a faculty of emotions again. So the choice that one makes is emotions are nothing but energy in motion. And as all of us know, that energy neither can be destroyed nor be created. It can be transformed. And who can transform this? Fear to faith is our own energy. It's all up to us as to how we move our emotions from the energy of commotion when we get captivated by fear to an energy of creation with faith in self, having courage to take that first step, believing in the divine power while we are acting on to create what we are up to. Does that mean that whatever we are up to will always show a positive result? I'm not sure about it. It may or it may not. The only place what faith creates is having an unconditional faith in that supreme creator, that whatever is happening with me is good for me. I may not be able to see it at the moment when it is happening, but when I have faith, I would accept life the way it is showing up and would be ready to see what's next for me. That is the power of connecting to the spiritual world. Let's look at the next slide. Purva, can we move to the next slide? We go on the picture slide. Now invite each one of you to look at this picture and reflect. And then you can unmute and share what is this picture depicting? What is the experience you're left with when you are looking at this picture? Take a few moments and then we can unmute and share.
Om Shanti, sister. It is the belief and the faith, but each one has unique power.
Beautiful, sister.
Yeah. Thank you.
Om Shanti. So while
Om
looking at this, Om Shanti. So while looking at this picture, I was checking the expression of how the child is feeling. So here the child is feeling there is no fear because his dad is there to hold him. So nothing is gonna happen. So for us also, if we have always the assurance that our supreme soul is there won't be fear. So that's what I'm trying to relate with soul and supreme soul and this child with the father. Thank you, Om Shanti.
Thank you, sister, for sharing that deep introspection on what you're getting in. And yeah, very rightly said, when we have complete faith and belief in the Supreme, then whatever shows up, we know it's for our good. Any other sharings on this picture?
Om Shanti, Rakhi Ben.
Om Shanti.
Great to hear you as always. And seeing that picture, I feel that yes, as the previous sister said, when you are at the safest hand, the hand of your Godfather, your Supreme Soul, then no matter how much sightseeing comes, be it obstacle, be it some adversity, some paper, some challenge, some problem, you know that he will never fall. He will never let you fall, and he will always, always there to hold you safely. That is the experience I'm left with after seeing this picture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reshmi Ben, for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti,
and
sister.
again, what I can see is there is a smile in Dad's face, which also makes us realize that he's not afraid. He can handle it well. So the fear is not in Dad's face. So that's why he's able to have more fun with his son in a protective way.
Yes, sister. This is like God is smiling to whatever is happening around with us because he knows he's there to take care of us. Would anyone else like to share? What else can we look at in this picture? How do you see the whole energy at this moment when the dad and the child is playing?
They both are very much
It's
connected.
a
Connection good.
True.
yeah,
Very
very positive
positive.
exchange of energy because of the faith and the thrill and the excitement.
Yes, brother.
Child knows that Papa is playing with me. So the God sent us on this planet, and that is the game. And we have to follow that energy, get connected with the energy with the Father. So we have to enjoy the game and stay connected to Father and have faith that Father will catch me.
Absolutely. It's like I know my Father is there. So even if I'm been bounced up, I'm sure He's there to take care of me. Thank you, sister, for sharing that. So that's exactly what happens when we move our energies from fear to having complete faith, surrendering ourselves and open to see what life has to bring in. And I'm sure each one of us have our techniques to deal with fear. We'll share with you a few techniques that had worked well for me from time and again. In the next slide. I may need somebody to read this slide. Apurva, would you read this slide for me?
Yes, absolutely. So the first technique is take a pause.
Yeah. Okay, let's read the whole slide and then we will look at having the sharing.
Sure. So the first technique is take a pause. The next is accept and understand the situation. Reflect and respond. Open to face the consequences. That is either you earn or learn. Getting involved in relaxation techniques, transforming energy of fear to faith with methods like deep breathing, muscle relaxation. It is engaging in creative pursuits like music, dance, painting, and most importantly, meditation.
So these are the various techniques which has worked wonders for me, especially connecting to self by taking out or making time for my own self and taking pause. As a child, I'd been very restless and very reactive at times, which still shows up in my actions at times. And the only access that I see is take a step back and pause, then take charge of whatever has happened and then respond. Another thing that works wonderful for me is getting connected to music, whether listening to music or playing any instrument. And the best method that had worked for me, not just to deal with the situation that I am in, is meditation. Meditation had given me answers to difficulties which I had no access to. And I will share one recent example of this is when my current organization had been pitching in for a particular business project in collaboration with another organization. And when the project really came in, the organization with whom we were to collaborate had taken a backseat. They were not available to do this project together. And I had no clue how would we create the next partner with us, because we would need that skill coming from an external source. And I remember that almost 4 weeks back, early meditation, while I was having a conversation as to what is this all about, what is the access to it. And there were multiple options which showed up that morning. And from that options, we could generate a collaborative partner and created that possibility. And in final stage of closing the whole logistics of delivering on that project. So does that mean that we'll always get answers like this? I don't know. I only know one thing is there's a lot of peace and calmness that comes after meditation in my experience. And now I sit and invite each one of you to share your techniques of how you deal with fear and the challenge that it brings in. Over to you all.
Om Shanti. Thank you, sister,
Om Shanti.
for Om Shanti. Thank you so much for sharing, your experiences, and some of them very personal, but sharing it in a way that it benefits all of us. And really appreciate, your sharing your journey also on how you have transformed fear, and how you've overcome the fear with the power of faith. And some of the things that you mentioned, I think we all experience our own set of fears, with the most recent being COVID, and that has caused a lot of fear in a lot of people globally. Um, but, like you mentioned about the power of faith and the belief that even though we are not seeing, something happens in our life and we don't understand why it's happening, but then when we look back, we can connect, and we can understand the bigger game plan. And when you were talking about that, I was also thinking there's a very nice video of Steve Jobs who talks about his journey. And, when he was the CEO, he was let go, and he was fired from the company that he created. And then he went on a journey and he thought, why is all this happening? And it created a lot of anxiety. But then later on, he looked back and said, everything was for a reason. So God has a beautiful plan for us. God has, and God knows why what is happening in our life today is so much meaningful, because it's meant for a bigger purpose for our transformation. So really enjoyed all the points that you mentioned, even about the other ideas about how to manage the stress and the fears, whether it's music or painting or creativity, or most importantly, meditation and connection with the divine. So thank you again. Beautiful session. And thank you, Saurabh Bhai. Thanks so much for also arranging and coordinating this session.
Thank you, brother, for your kind words. And yes, as you rightly pointed out, it's only later in life that we realize that God's plan was some different than what we wanted it to happen. And when I look back after 24 years, I have no regrets on whatever happened in my life. I stand in that gratitude of how life has shown up. And I know for sure, none of us are going to be free of fear until our last breath. Then we have a choice. Do we want to be like a boat which has been tied at a seashore and just have a piece of people coming and looking at it, but in the purpose of that boat is to sail deep within the water? when we get the purpose of our life for our own self, it's worth giving a chance to our own self and see what's in for us. Thank you, brother, for bringing that up so well in your sharing.
Yeah, thank you, sister. And actually, I was just thinking when you were sharing your points, beautiful. And Saurabh bhai also, he's our boat anchor. He's taking us all in that boat, and has beautiful sessions on Sundays. And last year, I think he had covered a session on gratitude. And I was just thinking, like, your life is an inspiration for us on how to live a life of gratitude. And maybe you can share some of those experiences another time also. So thanks again. Deeply touched. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother, for setting open the next invitation. But yeah, it wasn't very easy for me to say this. And there are few of people from my life here who have seen my journey. And that angry Rakhi, that irritated Rakhi, that reactive Rakhi. And they have those experiences, because I have few of my school friends here with us today on the session. I have my guides, my mentors here. I have my mom sitting and listening to me here. And if they get to see what had happened in the past, they would really feel what is the difference that has come in. And yet I get into my default mode. I may yet get angry, but that now I don't beat up myself. I be with it and then deal with it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarabhai, can we open up for any question answers?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Rakhi. Let's all applaud and say thank you to Rakhi Ben for the lovely sharings and inspirations, experiences. And so beautifully, she in a very personal way, she touched upon her experiences of life and very practical methods to overcome the fear. Very beautiful explanation of what fear is, what faith is, and that lovely image that described the emotion of being fearless so beautifully. So thank you so much, Rakhi Ben, and all the angels from India, especially who have joined. Would love to hear from Rakhi Ben's parents and mentors and friends just a little bit. It would be nice to say hello to them as well.
My mom was around and she's left the room.
Okay.
So I may have to get up and ask her to come in.
Sure,
so when she comes in, I'll ask her to do that.
Sure.
And
Namaste all.
Yeah,
this is Sanjay. I am fortunate enough to know Rakhi since our school days, and her home was the warm place. We were all welcome. Almost every evening we spent at her home, chatting, having fun as young kids, then teenagers. The family was so warm to us. They would provide the tea, the coffee for all our sessions. And whenever, now that we have all grown up and are across the globe, whenever we have to get together, we know it's one place we can easily manage and make is Rakhi's place. And see, even the few of the experiences you shared, I was trying to recall, you never made us realize that you were different, or you mingled so well. And it was just amazing now to think back that all the struggle, or whatever shape and form you want to put it in, but all that you had to overcome, but you never let that impact you or your friendship in any way. And I think looking back, that's just commendable. That's just amazing. So we love you for that, Rakhi. And keep up what you have been doing. It's just amazing to see you as the HR director. You completed your MBA. Maybe we were not there for a lot of your phases, but we are always here.
Thank you, Sanjay, for sharing your experience. And just to let each one of you know here, Sanjay and me share a relationship of 40 years.
Yeah.
So he was my first buddy in that structure of classroom. He and another girl from the class were my first buddies to support me in that structure. And now he's based out of Texas. And the moment he saw today's session happening, he was the one who said, come what may be, I'm going to be here. Because he's been someone who has witnessed it from last so many years. Thank you, Sanjay, for being here and sharing your space.
Thank you, Rakhi.
Thank you, Sanjay Bhai. Appreciate you joining us and sharing your experiences with Rakhi. Would love to hear from others. Any questions to Rakhi?
Shanti. Myself, Reshmi Ben. So I've been knowing Rakhi Ben since the last few years. I think 2 to 3 years, I guess, Rakhi Ben. Yeah. So I think every moment with Rakhi sustained inspiration, no less than an inspiration. First of all, her zeal and enthusiasm. She's always so full of energy. I mean, we get tired or we think, no, let's not do it now or this and that. But she's full of energy and so much giving nature. That is the best part of Rakhi, when she's always giving. If somebody has any trouble, if somebody has little bit, maybe the charger is from here to there. I got a chance to be with her in Madhuban. So in some session we were attending together. So we were in the same room. So every little things, she's such a mother. She's so caring, very giving, and full zeal of enthusiasm. As the brother said very correctly, that I never felt that she has any problem or something. I felt that I have a lot of problem which I need really to rectify myself. I really need to correct myself and bring that divine energy that Rakhi Ben. I'm very happy to have Rakhi Ben in our life. So thank you for being there, Rakhi Ben, and for a wonderful session.
Thank you so
It's
much,
great.
Rashmi Ben. Thank you so much. And this
Pleasure.
is Baba's gift. This is something which I will give it to Baba. Thank you for your kind words. And she's been a wonderful soul to be around. We always tell Reshmi Ben, be ready for doing Achanak Ka Path. So that's Reshmi Ben for all of us. Back here in Mumbai.
Yes.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Rakhi, love you, like you, respect you, always there with you.
Oh, another angel from my school days. Thank you, Renu, for that. Reciprocate the same.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions, if anyone has for Rakhi Ben?
I would like to sincerely thank Rakhi Behan. She is such an elevated soul, and you people in your journey, you touch other people so deeply that you don't know how much of difference you make in our lives. You are like a memorable person in my life, and would always cherish this particular session. And whenever we feel down, we'll remember you. So you don't. I mean, your presence makes such a big difference in other people's life. This is such a great service. I would really like to thank you for being available and sharing your candid emotions and, things to inspire others. And it really means a lot. Thank you so much, Rakhi Ben.
Thank you, sister, for allowing me and giving this opportunity and hearing me, listening to this session. Thank you for your time.
Any other inspirations from anyone?
Om Shanti. Just wanted to thank Rakhi Ben. It was a very beautiful and a very inspiring session. Greatly moved by your journey, and I'm so proud to what you've achieved. Thank you for being our inspiration. Lovely session. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, sister, for your kind words and your presence here. And above all, let's thank Baba and Saurabh Bhai been an instrument to have this session happen.
True. The foremost thanks goes to Baba and then to Saurabh Bhai for arranging this wonderful session. Thank you so much, Saurabh Bhai.
Thank you. Thank you to Baba and Rakhi Ben and all of you.
Thank you to the family back there for this invitation.
Joy, would you like to also add your thoughts?
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Rakhi Ben, for sharing your story and your experience. Each time you share it, you're inspiring others just by having the courage to share your story. And your sweet presence that just kind of shines through your soul provides a very safe environment for those that want to share and are trying to overcome fears of their own. So thank you for having the courage to share. And I've gone through my entire life has just been perpetual transformation. And so when you started the talk and told us to think back in our past about the fear situation, I couldn't really think of anything. Well, that's not true. I did think of my mother. But it felt, I was like, that's really not been my experience as a soul. I'm kind of like been this fearless soul. But I did think of my mother, and that as a child, whenever I spoke my truth, and then in the early years as an adult, whenever I tried to share the truth that I was learning, it would always be met with opposition and rejection, even, really hostile response. So in my latter years, in mid years, in having a relationship with her, I had just chose to not talk about anything. And then I had gotten to a point realizing that I was suppressing who I am by not saying what I think about a particular situation. So it took another good, at least 20 years to overcome that fear of wanting to speak the truth with my mother. And I can honestly say, that was a result of, just like you, me having the courage to speak when I remember I always had this fear of also speaking, and the first time I really realized it was when I was in a Narcotics Anonymous support group. And there was some voice, and you know how you share, I'm an addict, of course, that was just my process of really, no, I'm a child of God, and how I left that group to get to where I am now, in my truth. But there was a voice that told me, you need to speak because you're going to need to speak later. So I forced myself to begin speaking then in groups. So that has been my fear. And I was able to, which is speaking in groups. I never had fear of speaking one-on-one except with my mother, but in groups, it was always this fear. And so finding environments where it's open and actually encouraged and supported to share your story. And so I've done that over the past decades at Unity, where I used to go to church. But then also, of course, now with the Brahma Kumaris. And the things of sharing with the Brahma Kumaris are they're just a much deeper, but the atmosphere, the vibration, the energy is so loving. It's just an open, loving, warm place to share our stories. And it's so important to share them for two reasons. One is to let others know, like, they're not the only one having this feeling or had this experience. And then this is how another person got over it. So then it provides hope. Hey, just like your tagline or that you say, if I did it, you can do it. And I've said that for years too. If God could do what he's done through me, he can do it through anybody.
So beautifully shared, sister. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Really touched with that.
Yeah. So yeah, just having to be in those environments. But I did want to share that there's this two things. I have these books that they're in a pile over here right now because I'm getting ready to put them in a bookshelf. So after you got finished speaking, something led me to these books. And so one of them is, I know that people probably haven't heard this, but it's called A Course in Miracles. It's been translated into like over 40 languages. And so the basic message, this was the book that I always wanted inner peace. And this book said, if you want inner peace, this book is going to help you, get it, basically. Because it says, this is a course in miracles. Herein lies the peace of God. And it says it's a course in miracles, and it's a required course, it says. And the only time you take it is voluntary, which means, as a soul, we get to choose when we're going to decide, okay, I got this fear, I really want to overcome it, but I'm not ready yet, or I am ready. We get the choice. Eventually, we have to face it. It talks about really, its aim in this book is about removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Removing whatever that block is that keeps us out of the awareness of love, of God's presence. That's what has to be removed, through transformation or through yoga. One of those two things, And it says then the opposite of love is fear. And it says nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. And therein lies the peace of God. So really, the transformation is about going within you got to go back and find out what is that block, what was that experience that created that feeling that's still in my body that's preventing me from doing what God wants me to do. And just one more book that I had in my pile. This is a book by Matt Kahn, and it came out 2018. It's called Everything is Here to Help You. A Loving Guide to Your Soul's Evolution. And I haven't looked at this probably since 2018, and not since I've been with Brahma Kumari. So as I was looking at it, all he's talking about is how we move from being in an ego consciousness to our soul consciousness. And so it's a very practical guide. There's exercises and practical experiences to help that process. So Yeah. So thank you so much, sister, for sharing your story. And I know by every time you speak and every word you speak that your light, you get closer and closer to Baba. And that light just gets brighter and brighter. And I just see it just shining off of your face right now. Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much, sister, for your blessings. And thank you for sharing with all of us. I'm sure each one of us have got contributed with what you shared. Thanks.
Thank you, sister.
Om Shanti. For me, Rakhi is very compassionate and cooperative soul. Every day we have meet on Avyakt English group. And that time when Rakhi Ben is there on the Avyakt Muli Club session, so I don't have any fear that whether who is going to come or who is not going to come. Because if somebody doesn't turn out for that session, she's always there to take that opportunity to read the Murli. Thank you, Rakhi Ben, for always being there. Om Shanti.
We reciprocate the other way. We will say when Rami Ben is around, we don't have to bother. We have a peaceful sleep at times. So thanks for being here.
That's the reason we are soul sisters, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, true. Thank you, Rakhi Ben, for the wonderful session.
Thank you, Ami Ben, for being here.
Thank you, Ami Ben. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Saurabhai, for the wonderful session.
Thanks to you and Rakhi Ben and everyone, Baba. Yeah, that's great. Nice.
Saurabhai, we can, yeah.
I think Uma, is that Sanjay Bhai raised his hand? Oh, okay. Any final thoughts I would like to add? Great. So thank you. And here is a little blessing from Baba for Sister Rakhi. Should we read it together? Okay. Pull it up. Okay, this is a little blessing from Baba to Sister Rakhi. Your power of tolerance has increased your depth and maturity. You become completely fearless and an embodiment of success by going into the depth. So true. So,
thank you, family. Thank you, Saurabhai. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you. So great. So
can we remember Baba for a few seconds?
Yes, we will have a little meditation and then we will close.
Do we want to do it in silence or how do we wish to do?
Yeah, we'll play a song. Yeah.
Sure. Saurabhai, are you planning to sing?
Yeah, we'll listen to the song today. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for your inspiration, sun must set as the day it ends, and so shall all of us. The gift of silence is returned to each one's soul by soul. I know you hold it in your heart as you watch your life unfold. So go to the sea, flow to the ocean, fly like a bird to his arms. Take all the love of all who will miss you, but know we are never apart. Thank you for your inspiration, for your life and love. Thank you for your recognition of the one above. Thank you for your sweet compassion, for your life of truth. Thank you for walking on this earth. Thank you for being you. Oh, thank you for walking on this earth. Thank you for being
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rakhi Ben, from all of us.
Thank you so much, Saurabh, for giving this opportunity and taking me from this fear of being on an online session. Thank you so much.
So everyone, have a great day. Good evening, good night in India, and a good day here in the US. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Rakhi Ben. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Rakhi Bahan. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, family. Om Shanti.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rakhi Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rakhi Ben. Om
Thank
Shanti.
you. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Rakhi Ben. Thank you, Saurabh, for arranging it. Thank you, family. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Rakhi Ben. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, family. Om Shanti, everyone.